Procrastination isn't laziness. It's fear. It's fear in disguise. I had a mentor tell me once, and he said, you may as well live your dreams, Josh, because the time is going to pass anyway. And when he said that, I was like, oh, that's so profound. The time is going to pass anyway. So you may as well do the hard thing, because the hard thing actually gets easier compared to the hard thing that's existing now, which is this shame comparison game of should I or should I not do the thing that's aligned with my dreams. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. This is Josh Trent with my co-pilot, Mar. Mar, how do you pronounce your last name?
Svobodova. Easy.
It's a really cool pronunciation. Y'all, we are talking about something today that is so timeless, self-sabotage. Who doesn't struggle with this? I think it's part of just being a human. This is the podcast where we explore the 5 sides of ourself. And by the way, I think it's really cool, Mar. 2025. I actually haven't thought about this till this moment. 2025 is the year that we integrate, that we nourish the 5 sides of us. It's literally in the year. It's in the title. How cool is that?
That's awesome. Yeah, I haven't thought about it until now either, but it makes sense because how I feel about 2025 is exactly that.
It feels like the year of integration. Because look, y'all, 2020 through 2024 was the year of insanity and fucking psyop. Okay. Let us know in a comment below or in a message to us at joshtrent.com/AMA. That's where you can leave your voice. That's where you can ask a question. That's where you can get more clear on life, the way that you see life. Our goal with this podcast is to nourish these 5 sides of self and to look at life through a different lens. We don't have to look at life through the cloudy lens that, God love them, our parents and grandparents looked at life through. A lot of the struggles that they face, we just face them in a different way. And in this podcast, it's really this exploration of how to nourish these 5 sides of us. And let's be honest, how to have the courage to look through this lens of honesty. Sometimes the hardest thing is actually to be honest with yourself, right? Which is what today's AMA is all about. And if it's your first time with us, thank you for being here. This is a video. This is an audio. This is a starting place for you to do something different this year. Maybe a friend sent you this, or you came across this from searching on Spotify or YouTube. You're here for a reason. Trust that reason. If you've been struggling with self-sabotage, in this video, in this audio podcast, we're going to go into some very practical strategies that you can actually use, right? A lot of the podcasts out there are just like mental masturbation, or they're entertaining. And then when you put your phone down and you stop watching, there's no accountability, right? The accountability you can have today is by taking all this in and being a sponge. Mar, let's get to the question, because it's a question from you, which I love your vulnerability. I love that you're actually sharing something that's human, that you struggle with self-sabotage too, and procrastination.
Well, you said it too. Almost everybody struggles with this. And since we're in a new year and it's a new beginning, I think it's the best opportunity for us to actually look into this topic. So my question is, why do we keep lying to ourselves? Why do we keep procrastinating on the goals and the dreams that we set to achieve, even though they matter so much to us and we really, really want this so bad, but we still don't get ourselves to do the work and push through the discomfort and get out of the comfort zone and actually achieve that? It's
so good. So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing what most people deal with, but they haven't developed the courage yet to say. Let's start with this. Let's start with a story, because I love stories and it's how we learn. In 2014, I was deep in a pornography addiction. I hadn't experienced any plant medicine. I was really in a low point in my life. And in the span of 6 months, I broke up with a woman I thought I was going to be with. I put my mom in a mental home, and I got fired from a, quote, safe corporate job. Wow. It was like a reckoning for me. And I had been sitting on this idea of having a podcast for like 3 years. For 3 years, I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? I was procrastinating. And here's why. It wasn't until I got my ass kicked so hard by God's self, or by the universe, that I was forced to look at the honesty of my life because of pain. I knew I didn't want what was around me anymore. I knew I didn't want the fruits of my life anymore, but I just simply did not know how to change. And let's be honest, I was procrastinating for 3 years, playing the safe route, because A, I didn't know really how to love myself. B, I wasn't surrounding myself with the right kind of people that could actually fuel the productive side of me. And actually, I was hanging out with people that fueled the procrastination side of me. And then C, I didn't experience enough pain yet to really change from. like I have to clear my throat because it's interesting. My throat chakra is getting blocked right now. It's because I'm reflecting on that time when I didn't trust myself to speak and express with authority and with conviction. I hadn't earned it yet. I hadn't earned the right to do what you and I are doing right now. And so for all of us that are dealing with procrastination, let my story be a starting place for you in whatever phase of your story that you're in. What is something in your life that every night when you put your head on the pillow, you know that you get to do differently, yet you're not doing it? And how much torture and pain does that cause you on a daily basis? Because let's be real, Mar, we're not going to change habits unless there's enough friction. I'm reading a book right now called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he says that friction, the more friction that you have, the harder it is to do a behavior, the harder it is to change. So we actually need so much friction that it becomes so exhausting that we finally do the thing that's causing us the friction we've been resisting. In other words, the friction or pain has to be so high that we finally take an honest look at what our story is that we're creating that's making us not do the thing that we know we want to do. This struggle that I had was severe, and it really didn't come from laziness. A lot of times procrastination can be laziness perceived, but what's deeper? Because, on the podcast, we always explore like the cover emotion or what's being presented as the cover. The real story, the real stuff, the real beliefs are always much deeper. Yeah. Procrastination isn't laziness. It's fear. It's fear in disguise. It's like perfectionism is like fear wearing a jacket. Well, procrastination is like fear looking away. It's seeing what's possible for us, and it's developing either the courage or kowtowing to the cowardice that blocks us from achieving it, from doing it. So first and foremost, it's for all of us to take a real inventory of, and we all know this voice, right? We go to sleep at night, we're in the car, we're in traffic, and like this little voice will come up from your soul and it'll whisper something like this. I really want you to do that thing. I really want you to do that thing. And we'll feel it in our unconscious and in our body. And then we'll tell ourselves a story of, I can do this, or I'm not going to do this yet. I'll go clean the house, right? We'll put all these other things in front of the thing that we know we want to do, and we'll give ourselves excuses to not do it. So in true vulnerability, what is the procrastination that you're struggling with?
Like exact specific procrastination. I have several actually going on right now. So I've been wanting to join the gym again because I haven't been going for the past year. And so I've been procrastinating on that with excuses like, well, I was just sick, or the waves were too good, so I didn't have the time to go to the gym. But I know that back then when I was going to the gym, I was able to surf in the morning, go in the gym later in the afternoon. So I know those are just excuses. And I know there's fear behind that of me like feeling vulnerable in a completely new place in front of new people. And I know it's just the initial moment of like, oh, is this going to be a safe place for me? And I feel like the safety is a really important factor in this, because if you don't feel safe, you feel like you're naked and everybody's watching and you're going to get embarrassed and it's going to like something terrible is going to happen, but it's not true. Those are just stories that your mind is making up to protect you. So it's actually serving a certain purpose to protect me, but it's not serving the higher me. So yeah, the gym has been one of them. Then also working on my project, which probably the past month and a half, I just wasn't in the mindset to do any work. And I promised myself I would finish this certain thing by the end of the year. The end of the year has arrived and I haven't done anything. So it's teaching me to practice like not being so judgmental and shaming myself for not doing those things, but also looking at why am I not doing it and what am I afraid of? And the why, like what is it that I'm afraid of, has been the question that I've been wondering and pondering on for the past few weeks, and I haven't found the real answer yet.
Well, knowing you and knowing that this is a shared universal human experience where we put stories and beliefs in front of us to keep us safe, it's paradoxical because the very thing that you think isn't going to make you feel safe, that's keeping you pseudo safe, is the very thing that you actually get to do so that you can have the real safety you want. Because what I heard from you is the real safety you want is achieving your goals and dreams. But in the process of you achieving your goals and dreams, not manically, I'm not saying we have to like shame ourselves and work 17 hours a day. This is bullshit. We don't need to do that either. But there is a genuine cadence that we all get to follow in alignment with our goals and dreams being real. The thing I'll say before the punchline on my response to you is that there's a process of really setting your dream and setting your vision that's in alignment with your core values. And we talk about this in the Liberated Life community, by the way. It's at liberatedlife.com. And in this community, the reason why we go so deep into our beliefs and to our core values is because if we're not clear on our beliefs and if we're not clear on our core values, then that can actually be a unconscious way of sabotaging ourselves that's connected to the pseudo safety that we think is going to make us safe. But it's a paradox. So it's getting very clear, and this is a big part of the conversation. What is your dream that can withstand any crisis? If your dream is far greater than any crisis, then you will be able to withstand the crisis that the self creates and the crisis that the world creates. And crisis sometimes shows up really drastic. And then sometimes crisis is like, should I go to the gym? Should I not? It's a tiny little micro crisis. Maybe it's not even a crisis, but it feels like a crisis because crisis is both danger and opportunity. And I learned this in a film called Finding Joe, which is one of the most powerful films ever. If y'all haven't watched this, you get to watch it. It's linked below where you're watching or listening. And in Finding Joe, they presented this question that in Chinese symbology, there's two symbols for crisis. There's danger and then there's opportunity, which is so powerful. It's so profound because with any danger or with any growth, there's going to be opportunity, but there's also going to be discomfort, right? And so knowing who you are is a really big stage of this to get super clear on your core values. What is your dream? How much work have you spent really crafting and cultivating the clarity on your dream? And then now that you have clarity on your dream, does it align with your core values? Do your core values mirror your dream? Then once you have that built, then you can start going to work on the behaviors. But until we get to the bottom of the ocean inside of ourselves, core values and dream setting and purpose, then nothing can really move forward from there. It's almost like a lead weight that pulls us back. Has anybody ever felt this? Like, you know exactly the thing that you want, but potentially when you really feel into it, you either don't feel worthy of it, you feel like it'll be too hard, or you might have a narrative that comes up that says, well, who am I to do this? Who are you, Mar, to have this audacious dream? Who are you, Josh, to have a podcast and try to reach millions of people? Well, the difference between the result of the dream being real and the result of the dream being just a dream is inspired action. Inspired action is the winner of the game. But in order to be inspired, you have to have clarity on why you're doing it in the first place. So I wanted to say that because the punchline here is you mentioned it was about safety. And the safety that you're rubbing up against is that you might be judged. And it goes into some very ancient wiring too, right? Because in your brain and all of our brains, there's an amygdala, and that amygdala is actually wired for tribal connection. So it makes sense that by you having a dream of going to the gym, that dream might be fought against by the projection of others potentially judging you. Am I on the right track? Like you might feel judged or it might feel unsafe or uncomfortable.
Yeah. Now there's actually a new excuse that I made, which is I don't want to join the gym in January so that people don't think that I'm one of the resolution people who decided to join the gym in January. That's how crazy it is.
All right, cool. So just noticing the stories that we make is really big. And it goes back to the clarity of, and the word I want to use right now is actually identity. One of the courses that I'm building out in the curriculum for Liberated Life is called Wellness Identity. It's an identity that you show up as regardless of your thoughts or your external circumstances. And the thing that's really cool about identity is that we're all identifying as something, whether we know it or not. And so if I identify as a self-regulated, emotionally regulated, authentically expressing, abundance sharing man, because that's in alignment with my game that actually, Mar, you and I got clarity on, right? We got clarity on our game, and our game is actually our dream. It's the same thing. Right. So do you remember your game? Tell everyone your game.
I do remember. My game is that I share the love within, and I share the dreams with other people as an empowered feminine woman.
Perfect. So then taking that dream, what is a specific result that you're manifesting from that dream? What is that specific result? And how is it in alignment with your values?
So there's several parts to it. So one of the first part is to express the love within, which is one of the biggest wounds that I've had in my life, is just keeping everything to myself and not showing love to people, even though I love them. I would be quite cold and quite distant. So that's one thing that I'm practicing that's impacting not just my personal life, but also my professional life as well, because how I treat people, well, that's what you say always as well. How you treat your business is how you treat everything. So that's one part. Another part is sharing my dreams with others, which goes to the business that I eventually want to create, and just knowing that what I'm doing and what I'm planning to do, what I'm working on, is going to help people. And I'm not doing it just for selfish fulfillment, but I'm doing it to actually be there for others and to create change. And then the third part is to be an empowered feminine woman. And intentionally added the feminine woman, not just empowered, because there's like this empowered women who are like these ladies in power and they become masculine, basically. Like they just...
Yes, hashtag boss bitch,
yes.
Boss babe.
Exactly.
I always laugh when I see that. I'm like, you're going the wrong direction, y'all.
Yeah. So that's exactly why I added the feminine part. So empowered feminine woman. And that's basically stepping back into the feminine energy and taking my power back, because I've been most of my life acting from wounds and from limiting beliefs.
Okay.
And so that's the healing part of the dream of the game.
I appreciate you being open to this. It's really cool because the coaching that we all need is not something that I or someone else gives us. A great coach or a great mentor of any kind, they just unlock and remind inside of the unconscious and psyche of the person they're working with the answers that are already there. And that may seem a bit esoteric in the standard coaching model, where you might depend on a coach to coach you towards greatness. And in a way, what a great coach is doing, they're just holding up a mirror and really listening. This is the art of listening that we all get to have for ourselves, but especially if we're working with a coach of any kind, they just mirror back to you exactly what you're saying. So in true faith of mirroring back to you, what I heard from you is that you're sharing your heart, you're an empowered feminine woman. And what was the third piece? And
I share my dreams with others.
And sharing your dreams. So sharing your heart and dreams as an empowered feminine woman, does the identity of that feel real for you? Do you identify with that game, with that clarity in this moment?
Yes. I don't think fully, but I know that I'm already on the journey and I'm stepping into that role, into that identity.
Great. So then this is the most beautiful work that you can do publicly here on the AMA, is to get very clear on whatever beliefs and stories are blocking you from saying, fuck yes, Josh, I really truly in my body feel that that's my identity. That's the clarity that you're seeking, right? So it's not actually beating yourself up. And we get caught in this. It's called the shame loop or the shame spiral, right? We don't spend enough time because we just simply don't know. None of this is taught in schools, right? We've had to learn this through podcasting and through self-introspection and, doing Vipassanas and plant medicine, and all these things bring us back home. And home is where the heart is. Home is where clarity is. Home is where safety is. It's not a physical home. It's the home that we have in our heart, in ourself. And in your home right now that you're building for you and that I am building for me too, we're just developing clarity on what is my dream? Does this align with my values? And do I have the identity in my being that is connected to this being true? That's where all the work is. Because I had a mentor tell me once, and I forget who it was, really smart guy. I think I was a personal trainer. He was a client. And he said, you may as well live your dreams, Josh, because the time is going to pass anyway. And when he said that, I was like, oh, that's so profound. The time is going to pass anyway. So you may as well do the hard thing, because the hard thing actually gets easier compared to the hard thing that's existing now, which is this shame comparison game of should I or should I not do the thing that's aligned with my dream. So a bit long-winded, but what I'm sharing is to reprogram your mindset, you actually have to get clear on what program you want to follow, what game you want to follow is real first. So getting clear, having a dream and a goal, and then doing the work to truly identify somatically in your heart and body and in your mind, but starting with your heart and body first. That's where all the work is, because the body is the unconscious mind. The neural tree from the amygdala and from the cerebral cortex flows into the enteric nervous system for a reason. That's why the enteric nervous system is the second brain. So when we have a gut feeling or when we have a somatic impulse, that's actually our body teaching us to move in the direction of the thing that's scaring us or the thing that's cultivating curiosity for us. And so what's really amazing and empowering about this is that we all deal with this. I deal with this too in many ways, where my clarity of dream, my purpose, and my vision doesn't feel real to my identity. And it's in the alignment of these things, these three big buckets. When they're aligned, we're fucking unstoppable. Procrastination never comes in because you're so clear on your identity of who you are, what you stand for, and how you're being of service to the world that no one and no thing can get in your way. That's why on the studio, on the wall, I have the quote, "My dream is far greater than any crisis." And above it is the Pentagon, because it reminds me to nourish the five sides of me so that I can have this conviction around my purpose and dream and do the work so that my identity feels real in my body. So I can actually be it and live it and eat, sleep, and shit everything that my dream really is. Pardon my French, right? So that's the beautiful thing that you've brought forth today, is this consistent, inspired action. So this is what we do. And this is the strategy for all of us. This is actually the most fun part. When we meet resistance, can we take a breath and just ask one question? Do I feel identified with this behavior or with this thing that I want to do in alignment with my dream? Do I feel identified with this thing I'm about to do or the thing that pseudo safety is wanting me to sabotage? Can I look at this as an opportunity to reinforce or feed my identity with the clarity of dream, game, and vision that I know is real? And then just listen to what comes up. If you notice from the mind that there's a story running and it says you might be judged, you might be shamed, it might be uncomfortable, just say thank you. Hey, I appreciate you trying to protect me. That's cool. You've protected me for a long time. Thank you, protector. Get clear, usually through breath or through meditation or through journaling, just something. Take a breath and ask. You can put your hands in your heart and you could say, is this something that an empowered feminine woman who shares her love and dreams with others does? Is this an embodiment? Is this something that an empowered sharing of love and dream woman, feminine woman, would do? And is this in alignment with my identity? If so, it should create lightness and it should create a fullness and an excitement in your nervous system, where then when you go to the gym, you just quite simply won't give a fuck if people are judging you. It just won't fucking matter, because you'll be so attached and so in alignment with your game, your vision, your purpose, and your identity that when you finally go and do the thing, it'll feel like you've come back home in a way. It'll feel like just this light, beautiful experience. And if it doesn't, that's fine too, because sometimes we actually do the thing and then we get the power. You know, it's a famous quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Do the thing and you'll have the power. You don't have the power first. You don't have the courage up front. Courage and power are developed by doing the thing that's hard, or by doing the thing that we've created a story around that is keeping us held hostage. So what came up for you there? Because this dream of clarity and of identity is the same for me as it is for you. It's the same for all of us. What arose in you in what we're sharing today?
One of the things that I was thinking about is that it usually doesn't take just one intent. So yes, I go to the gym, but I will still feel judged. And that's the last part that you were talking about, that
exactly.
The courage is built while you're actually doing the thing. So yes, it's just being consistent with the choices that we make that are aligned with our game. So yes, I go to the gym once, I'll be judged. I'll go to the gym again and I'll feel judged again. But then maybe 2-3 weeks later, I'll feel more comfortable and suddenly I'll get the confidence to actually show up as myself without the fear of being judged. But yes, there are conscious choices that we make repeatedly so that we actually rewrite the narrative or the story that we've been telling ourselves for so long.
And here's the thing that's crazy is that story feels so utterly real, doesn't it? Like when we listen to just the mind and we're disconnected from what our gut or our neural tree or our body is wanting to share with us, it feels so real because then the mind is the master instead of the slave. The mind is literally like, protect. It's like sirens going off, protect, protect, protect. And what's crazy is there's no fire. There's no emergency, but it feels like that in our body because the mind, the conscious mind or the reptilian mind is informing the body to be in fear. That's what shifts us from rest, digest, parasympathetic to fight and flee, sympathetic, is that we're entertaining and we're attaching emotion to the thought. Tony Robbins and The Biology of Belief, Bruce Lipton, and many people that have studied psychology at the highest levels, they all say the same thing, and that is a thought doesn't become a thing until you attach emotion to it. It's only when you attach emotion to a thought that the thought becomes a behavior that's either most times self-sabotaging or self-serving, self-loving. And what's really cool about this is we can wax poetic and we can get in very intellectual on this AMA today. But the thing that's really going to matter and move the needle for us is being accountable to self. It's very amazing that we get clarity on our dream and our purpose and our identity. And then we use different stimuli and different experiences in life to systematically desensitize ourselves. That's what Jordan Peterson does with his clients when, for example, he had a woman who was afraid of the elevator, right? There's really no rational fear that's involved in being afraid of an elevator. Would you agree? Like, there's no reason to be afraid of an elevator.
Well, I think there's a few reasons why people could be afraid.
Okay, we'll just take that off the docket right now. So rationally, though, if you're flying in a plane or if you're in an elevator or if you're walking upstairs, it doesn't serve you to be in fear of what might happen. Would you agree that's true?
The chances are very, very low.
Chances are. So it's just about learning how to trust oneself. So what Jordan Peterson does is this process of systematic desensitization. And I actually use this in one of the modules in the Breathe program, our 21-day breathwork program. And in this module, you actually identify through journaling what are the things that bring you the most fear. And then you just move one step close to them each day. So he would have his clients that were in terror of the elevator just enter the building day 1. Day 2, they would enter the building. They would walk 10 feet to the elevator. Day 3, they would enter the building, walk 10 feet to the elevator, and they might actually touch the elevator. And eventually, after a couple of weeks, the person was going up and down the elevator because they were systematically desensitizing themselves to the stimulus of fear that was actually self-created. Going to the gym, being a great person, moving in the direction of your dreams, it involves systematic desensitization, but it also involves accountability, right? He was actually there with his client when he was doing that with them. So why I'm saying this is because if you really want to rewire your brain or you want to flip the script or see life through a different lens, you first have to be honest with yourself and be willing to admit that the way you've been looking at life or the stories that you've believed about life or the unconscious beliefs that you've been letting run the show are actually not true. And that can be really, really alarming to the nervous system, especially when you stack on trauma and intergenerational aspects. So what I'm saying this for is we get to do this in community. Community can be 2 or more, by the way. Community doesn't mean you have to be in 50 people circles drumming and chanting. Community is 2 or more. So anytime, and actually this is from the Bible, anytime 2 or more people gather in my name, this is prayer. This is the glorification of God. So anytime 2 people get together or more, it is actually leading us closer to vulnerability and love and sharing. And darkness and fear and fabricated stories can't live in that space for too long, right? They eventually have to go somewhere else where they can be fed by fear. So in closing here, I challenge myself and you, Mar, and all of us to actually do the thing and get the power to develop the clarity that we've talked about on dream, purpose, vision, and goals and identity. And then put yourself in an environment where you have a mentor, where you have friends, where you have community that can keep you accountable to the thing that is causing you the struggle. I think that's where we end the conversation because that's a lot of work. I mean, what I just laid out is an incredible amount of work. It's going to take time. And you know what the really beautiful fuel source for all of this is? It's vulnerability, y'all. It's vulnerability. It's being honest with yourself and with other people about what you're struggling with. That's why I do men's groups. That's why women have been sitting in groups for millennia. We can't do this alone. We're not meant to do this alone. It's like, Mara, your strength and courage to just share publicly is so inspiring, right? It's so inspiring because it allows other people to be like, oh, I actually feel like Mara feels. I feel like she does. And there's real healing in that. There's real community in that. So thank you for being open to even sharing that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I'm sure there are many people who have the same struggles, especially like some of the common ones, like going to the gym, which is like, especially at this time of the year, I think there's
especially
a lot of people.
Month.
Yes. There's a lot of people with really big goals and dreams that might vanish within a few weeks because there's no accountability. There's no system to actually work on the wounds and the limiting beliefs.
No doubt. And they haven't gotten clear on their identity or their dream or their game. So I think the first week of the year or even the last week of the year should be just such a beautiful time for us to take stock, take inventory of like, what's real for me right now? What do I actually want? What is the game I'm committed to playing? And how can I fortify my identity and plug in my identity to that game so I'm so strong and so indomitable that when the macro and micro challenges come my way, I can meet those with conviction because I've gotten so much clarity beforehand. It's like we have to expect resistance, y'all. Resistance is going to happen. All these stories of fucking love and light and just do what feels good, brother. It's a trap. It's a total fucking narcissistic trap. The way that we meet our life with courage is by doing the inner work first to get clear on who and what we are and what we really value in life. So we covered a lot of ground, Mar. What else can we be open about sharing? I feel like we've shared a lot on this one.
We did.
When it comes to self-sabotage.
I feel like there's a beauty and magic when you really don't feel like doing anything or like you're like, I really don't want to do this. And that's the moment when you can consciously decide that's why I'm going to do it because I don't want to do it so bad that this is exactly the reason why I should do it. I think there's so much power in that, and it's hard to get there. It's hard to actually change the mindset around it because we get stuck in the comfort zone and it's so comfortable in that zone. It's just like, oh, I'm so cozy and like, I don't have to do anything. I'm comfortable. But it's like, if you push through it and you get to a whole new area that you've never visited before, it's just magic. It's beautiful.
It's freaking magic. When we do the thing that our brain is telling us not to do, it's so empowering because then we trust ourselves. And I'll leave one more resource. Danielle Catherine Haig, who we had on the show, just love this woman. She's so wonderful. And she said, the only way you can actually build confidence is by keeping promises to yourself. Yeah. And I just love that so much because when we keep promises to ourselves, it's a mirror of the clarity work we've done on our dream, our purpose, and our identity. It's just such a strong mirror. So let's be imperfectly perfect as we chase down our dream and give ourselves grace and accountability and community as we do this. Nobody's meant to do this alone. All right, y'all, leave your questions, joshtrent.com/AMA. Share, like, subscribe, do all the things so we can get into the algorithms. That would be really appreciated. Mara and I would definitely appreciate that. Until we see you again, we're both wishing you love and wellness, but most importantly, peace and power. We'll talk with you soon.